Oh, great. This is fantastic. I'm enjoying myself 100% right now. I am blessed because this is one of my key things that I wanted to talk about for years. My name is Ken Foxworth, and I'm thankful very much to be a part of the University of Minnesota. But the most important thing is I'm very thankful to have the Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder give us the access to have this podcast. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you to my guest right here. And I'd like to talk to this fantastic brother who played ball here, been knowing him for years. And I'm so proud of him. He's the Associate Vice President, Alumni for the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus. I want to say doctor because I'm trying to push him into that. But I would like to say to Steve Davis, good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Happy to be here.
Yes, can you tell me your history? How did you come from St. Louis, Missouri to look at this cold place called Minnesota and how the University of Minnesota got you here?
No problem. Well, first, just thank you for allowing us the space to be here, with the other Black Alumni Network leaders. And I'll talk a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm from St. Louis, and, football was the main reason why I came here. And honestly, Minnesota wasn't on the radar at first. I was exploring a lot of different options, particularly Iowa and Wisconsin at the time, but both of those schools coincidentally turned me down and told me that I had to walk onto their school. And when that opportunity presented itself and Minnesota came calling, I learned that they had rivalries with those schools, and I kind of fell in line with that. So I was like, you know what, this is going to be a place for me to go to stick it to them. But also, I saw some of the opportunities that could be available with the Fortune 500 companies and the degree that I was going into at the time, graphic design. So I was looking forward to like being in a big city and coming here and playing football and trying to explore what life can be like.
All right, that's fantastic. So, can you introduce your guests?
Yeah, we have here two representatives from our Black Alumni Network as part of the Alumni Association. We have Toni Bennett, who's a vice president, and we have Nyemadi. We have her as the vice president of marketing. Um, part of this organization and volunteering to help, lead the efforts of what we're doing with connecting Black alumni across the university back to the university and to each other. So.
All right, Miss Monet, can you give me your background, your history?
Absolutely. Well, good afternoon. Thank you again for having us. My name is Nyemadi Louise Dunbar. I am a Liberian girl who grew up in Minnesota, attended the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I came to the school, I originally wanted to go out of state. I think like many kids who grew up in one area, you want to explore another. But when I got to the U, that phrase driven to discover for some reason made me feel really at home. And I think I started to realize through the course of especially the first couple of years that I was where I needed to be
All right.
and that I would eventually. So outside of that, I'm a strategy and storytelling consultant with my firm Impossible Cosmos and just enjoying in life outside of that.
Storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that?
Helping companies and organizations amplify the narratives that are going on within and without their organizations, really telling the stories that need to be told to bring people closer to those missions and really get the work done and get people excited about things that are happening, things they may not know about, things that may be new to them, and telling them in ways that speak to the people who those stories are about and the stories that those people impact.
Oh, fantastic.
Right. Hi, yes, Toni Bennett. So my story to you is maybe similar. I was looking to go outside of the state, so born and raised in Minnesota. Spent a few years in Hawaii as my mom traveled for work, but came back, settled here, and did most of my education in Minnesota. Was trying to go warm and had a friend, older sister, come to the U, and so we had come down, I think, for some tour, something that she was doing, and just kind of realized that, oh, this is a pretty nice place. And so then I applied and I got in, and the rest is really history. I wasn't thinking I was even going to stay the whole time, but I really did fall in love with the people that I met, the education that I had, and then a lot of the people that are around me kind of supported me through it. And I'm the first generation in my family to get a 4-year degree. And so, thank you very much. Lots of us afterwards, lots of us have gone to the University of Minnesota as well. My brother, my cousins. So it's a very exciting time for us for me to be the first, but lots to follow. So it was really a good opportunity, and I was very excited that I kind of started something that some of my other cousins thought was important too. So that they were able to come here was really exciting for me.
What class that you graduated from? 1990.
All right, Steven.
2008.
There we go.
2011.
1996.
See, I had to get a 90 somewhere. I had to get a 90. I had to get a 90. So yeah, I just got
Diverse
that.
set of people.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. The other thing too is that my thing is that one thing that we know is that it's so hard to get Black students and student athletes to come back to the University of Minnesota. Can you share that information, all three of you?
Yeah, I think, first of all, there is a very rich history of, Black students and faculty and staff and alumni that have blessed the halls of the University of Minnesota. And a number of people have gone through different iterations of culture and a sense of belonging at the University of Minnesota. And I think to a certain extent, based upon their experience as a student, it kind of reciprocates their experience as an alum. So if they didn't have the best experience on campus and they don't feel as connected, it has been a tough journey to bring them back and get them re-engaged. But I would say, there have been efforts, specifically through the Alumni Association to try to build a bridge. We've been working with an iteration of the Black Alumni Network since the 80s. And there have been a couple different iterations, but this iteration has been around since 2014. And, our efforts are really trying to bring awareness of the community of alumni that's out here and how we can work together to connect with each other, but also use the power of the full body of our alumni to affect change on campus and support the students. Because when I really talk to people and I have conversations, a lot of them are saying, I want to figure out how I can help the next generation because I don't want them to go through the experiences that I went through. And when there hasn't been a easy bridge for them to do that, it kind of turns a lot of people off to be engaged. So I think there's a challenge with that in itself because a lot of people spend a lot of time and money and resources to come here. And if they don't feel like they have benefited from that and been connected since that, then it's hard to, build that bridge. But there's efforts and we're continuing to try to build on that and bring awareness of the community that's here so that they can reconnect through a bridge that they know that's their people.
Yep. And I think we talk about this a lot on the board is that we're really trying to find different ways to get the alumni back in a variety of different spaces, right? It's not just the homecoming event that we have. It's not just maybe a happy or two that we throw, but really looking outside that and to get maybe a larger and more diverse group of people, be it someone that graduated in the 90s or somebody that graduated in the 60s, whatever it might be, to really pull people together and finding events and activities that if your heart tells you or your interest is, I would like to give back to the community, what type of events can we have that someone can do that? For us, it's not about always raising money. It's not always about what you can give us, but we're trying to find ways that allows the individual, the alumni, to kind of give back in the manner which is important to them, right? Because it's in the end, it's all about giving back and then how they can give back in the manner that fits best for them.
And I'll echo both Steve and Toni on the insights that they've given and the sentiments, and also just add that I think sometimes we think particular moments in our life should look one way, like, oh, you're in college, and so this is what college is about. You have, your group and your classes, and then you leave and you start your adult life, and it's like, no, you need community throughout your life. You need community as a kid. You need community as, a college, going person, or if you're in a trade, you need community throughout your life. And I hope that the UMAM band can be a space where people can lean back into community and understand that this is lifelong, right? Like we started this journey for many of us, coming from different places, 18-year-olds fresh in college, and made connections. And you can still make new connections and build and grow your community and give to community and be of community and lean on community throughout the different stages of your life.
Well, you're absolutely correct. I think that the problem that I see is this. I mean, I graduated in '81 at the University of Minnesota under the General College. And the thing that happened to me, I think it'll be the same. And this is what I see. And I just want to elaborate and see what y'all think about this too. Your freshman, sophomore year, you don't see anything but what you see in a campus. Your senior, your junior year, what you see is on campus, but you don't know St. Paul. You don't know Minneapolis. So my question is why are we in a position of not getting the community involved and seeing exactly the quality people that we have? Because one, they're outside of the university. They're coming from St. Louis. They're coming from Chicago. They're coming from LA. They're coming from New York. How can the alumni let these folks know that we got to be in a position of sharing our wealth? I really believe that we are not really divided. We just never been connected.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, I would agree with those sentiments. As I look back at my time at the U, because I was from here, maybe I had a better connection to people in my community, around my community, the people, maybe some alumni that were older. But I think because I just had a network of people who I already knew in the cities, it was maybe a little bit easier for me. And I think when I look back and I see friends who were from other places, my mom's mentality is really about community as well, right? So she always had people around, making sure that people had mentors, making sure that people had other individuals to talk to, football players could come to the house, whatever it might be, just so that people had a place to go outside of the dorm or their house, right? And so, I think one of the reasons why I was looking so much to give back, and I met with Steve actually the first time on campus, and I said, I'm just looking for a way to give back. I don't know what that looks like or how to even go about it. He's friends with my brother. And so he said, I might have a place for you to give back. You're a little bit older than the rest of the group, which I still am. But I think that's okay because I come with a different perspective that I've been here, I've worked outside of this. And so really try to engage people outside of our community to kind of come in and give back, and then to look at, okay, you are a successful person in your field, whatever that field is it a trade, is it marketing, is it a business, is it you're a doctor, but how can you give back to our community, and how do we start to spotlight that, right? I think we've done a really good job this month, thanks to this young lady here, of really kind of spotlighting alumni so that you can see people who look like you, that have already been here, that have a story to tell, and that hopefully that younger generation sees that those people are in the cities or in areas where you're interested in moving after college, so that we can start building some of those connections.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think, with all of the different community groups and organizations that are here, the one thing that I notice is that Minnesota is, this is what people will say. Transplants to this place will say it is very cliquish, and there are silos in almost every sector, right?
If you want friends, you have to go to kindergarten. That's you got it right. You have to.
Right. But what I found in my experience being here and how I've been able to connect the dots specifically at the University of Minnesota is that oftentimes those silos are silos because people are just focused on their things and what they're doing and focusing on the things that they have to get accomplished, right? But when somebody comes and actually opens the door and say, hey, I have an idea of how we can potentially collaborate and maybe support each other so we're not working extra hard on some of the same mission, would you be open to that? People are like, oh, nobody's ever asked me that. This is a pretty cool idea. And this is how I've been able to leverage some opportunities to connect different internal units, whether that be like student groups or offices and units that work on engaging Black students. I think the same could be applied to our community partners, how we can leverage opportunities with entrepreneur groups, with community spaces, with events that are happening in the Twin Cities to give people an opportunity to see what the full breadth of this city has to offer. Because there's two cities, right, in two different sectors of things that could happen. I haven't necessarily explored a lot of St. Paul, but I know there's a lot that's going on over there.
Missing out.
And yeah, trying to create that bridge, so people have that opportunity, especially if you're coming in this place and it's new. So I think there's definitely more room for growth in that area, and seeking out the partnerships that would help, leverage, those opportunities for people to build community. I would say one that we've done with the Alumni Association is that we're working with META, and META is supporting BIPOC-owned businesses. We have a Minnesota alumni-owned market. We're the only we're the only alumni-owned market in the country. So we're kind of setting a standard as far as like how to support alumni-owned businesses. But we really truly saw an opportunity to support those BIPOC-owned businesses that needed some additional, support and help with growing their businesses and being connected to that big vessel of community. So META has worked with us to supply free listings to our website as a business owner, as well as offering their services to support those businesses to grow. And this has been good because we got 32 BIPOC-owned alumni businesses on our market, and we're looking to continue to build on that and grow and really support the community. Some of that is going to be us going out to the community to support them, but really, to my point, it's like, what are those partnerships that we can continue to build on that leverages the opportunity to get out into the Twin Cities?
Okay. The other thing too is that there there used to be when I was at the university and I helped create that there was 2 to 3 credits for freshmen and sophomores for community services. Do they still have that?
I'm not sure.
Not that
I don't know.
I didn't experience when I was there.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't experience that either, but I was looking at a football.
I'm gonna hey Ray, I'm gonna cut that one.
It's like, never mind.
Hey, never. Yeah, but the other thing that I want to express is that how can the alumni, when a freshman get there, have them to be in a position of knowing that they got somebody that they can look up to? That's the key that I'm trying to ask the question to, because you are the seed that you getting ready to plant that seed to make sure that that is nourished and everything else to be the rose that is so important to get back to this institution. Tell me, what are you doing outside of just dealing with the business, but gravitating and touching those freshmen and sophomores to understand that the Alumni Association is here?
Yeah. I think, as I mentioned, some of that internal work of trying to build some bridges and partnerships, some of that work is like working with the Office of Equity and Diversity and MK and some of the student groups that are on campus to figure out ways of like, how do we create access for the alumni to be in some of those spaces or help out when those students are looking for a mentor or looking for some advice in this area. What is not present currently is like a formal way to create some mentorship with alumni and students, but that is something we've been talking about, we've been trying to build. I think there's still continual movement in that. And I think that can be one way where, alumni who are willing to help students right now could, lend their thoughts and advice. But the other part is showing up, because I think visibility matters. Like getting people to come to campus, whether it's an alumni event, but we know students are going to be there, or inviting the students to the alumni event so you can see, hey, here are the people who've been through this, who made it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you have something to look forward to, and
Yes.
they can give you some thoughts and advice. But I think, and you guys can maybe elaborate on this, I think sometimes with the students, they don't know what they don't know. And I would say this generation is not as open to going and having a conversation with a stranger as we probably were in the past. So our approach to it has to be a little bit different to create that safe space for the student to want to like, okay, there go these old cats gonna talk to me about something.
Is that who we are?
That's what I call it.
And we're all
I got called that. But you know, trying to figure out how do we resonate with them and get on their level
Right.
so that they feel welcome to the community and like, okay, this is actually something I want to get involved with when I graduate.
Yeah, I think one thing that we've been invited to this year that Steve's invited the different organizations to is events that are happening for the freshmen, right? So there's an event, I think, in March, towards the end of the month, that it's a event for freshmen and their families. And we've been asked to attend that event, right? So that they can see us. And then talk more about, you know, what we might be able to do. And just, you know, I think it's nice too for the parents that are there to know that, oh, okay, I can see my child in you, and you know, we can grow together as as a community versus just my kids here by themselves, right? And so we're trying to do that. We're also this year partnering with Junior Achievement for their BizTown. So we're doing a volunteer event there, which is I believe most of them are juniors or seniors, and they do this big presentation, and it's like a real life event, kind of community event that they host. And so we're volunteering for that, you know, and so we can also like, hey, don't forget about coming to the U too, but just really getting, I think, the representation out more for younger students as well. I think that's important. They come to the U, that's wonderful, but you know, we could be a mentor to them no matter where they go to school.
Yeah. And I think what Toni and Steve really highlight is the intentionality. I think that, you know, as you know, the joke I made about if you want to make friends in Minnesota, you have to go to kindergarten. It's being really intentional about changing the culture for the better, right? We can't just hope or want or believe. We really have to go out and act and do it. And so, you know, the different initiatives that have been started, I think are a great start, but it's also expanding on that and really really being intentional around building that community and partnering with the Black Student Union, and inviting, as Steve said, the students to the events that we have, the different panels that we have going on. We did have some students come by homecoming, and it was really sweet for them to see that, hey, life continues on after college. You can still continue to build your network and have a community of friends. But I think it's being really intentional about ensuring that there are both informal and formal ways that community is built and expanded upon.
All right. The Divine Nine.
Stephen?
Look at y'all. Look at y'all. Come on now. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all just ruined it. I mean, I just said you. Y'all just.
Here we go.
You hear that?
Not even Steve, just Stephen.
Look at it, Stephen. Hey, not even doctor.
She's like, here you go.
Oh, here you go. So,
That's just
hey, let's break that. Hey, the Divine Nine is the most powerful thing that you got on the campus. Sure, they start what? They start me their junior year. They got to a point where they graduated. You got all of these folks right here. What are you doing with the Divine Nine?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, say that again. There's a lot of rich history at the University of Minnesota when it comes to the Divine Nine. There are 3 single letter chapters that were formed here. There are a lot of prominent figures such as Roy Wilkins, Bobby Bell, Sandy Stevens that have blessed the halls of the University of Minnesota and made a huge impact on the world. And what is lost is being able to see the visibility of that and the tradition and history of that. And
can you say that again, please?
What is lost is being able to see the visibility of that and the tradition and history of that. And we are actually working really, really hard with a lot of internal stakeholders to fix that. There are some things that we're working through to figure out ways of bringing more visibility to some of the history of these organizations, while also, I would say right now on campus, there isn't a lot of visibility with some of the students being a part of these organizations as it once was. When I was there, almost every organization was visible. Now you can barely see anybody in letters on campus. And part of it, I think, is the students don't see a lot of that around to be inspired to do that. And we're trying to find more ways of getting the alumni, and there's a lot of alumni in Minnesota who are part of these organizations, to support the efforts of these students to help bring, you know, more interest and get people to be in those organizations, but more so bring the visibility, bring that community, bring that pride, and really kind of show what a lot of, you know, these organizations really mean. It's not just about, you know, wearing the letters and strolling and stepping. Like, it's really being out in the community, and giving the students an opportunity to see that. But it starts with the visibility. It starts with bringing that presence. And I think they did a really good job with homecoming of giving the Divine Nine an opportunity to show a presence at their events, and letting the students see a lot of alumni wearing letters,
Yeah.
and being together. And they're like, oh, they're actually here, you know? And that's sad to say in Minnesota because there's so much history here, but that's where we are currently. And I think we're at this point where we're trying to revamp that energy and bring a lot of that positivity and that rich history back alive, so people can see that this is important here and we can't let this die. Um, and really trying to give people an opportunity to see themselves in those organizations so we can continue to grow them, not from the standpoint of a number standpoint, but community standpoint, because
Exactly.
they are really helping to impact the world as well as the Twin Cities. So, you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue to grow that, but it's taking a lot of work. I'll say that.
Okay, for our audience who don't know what Divine Nine is, can somebody share that with me?
Yeah, so the Divine Nine are made up of 9 Greek organizations, fraternity and sororities, historically Black Greek organizations, and they are they're all encompassing of a lot of different ways. There's many opportunities to get involved in some of them, and I encourage anybody who don't know anything about it, just look them up online. You can start to see some information. But any of the step shows that you've seen, any of the people wearing Greek letters and, you know, doing their chants and their calls and all those different things, like, that's just a rich tradition of history and pride of being Black, and saying it out loud and wearing it proud, that a lot of these organizations bring to a university and to the world.
Okay. Any sororities here?
No, sir.
Me find me, ain't it? Sure. Sure. Any sorority? Any fraternities here?
Yes. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
There's a Kappa here. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my thing is that one is getting them involved. The other thing is, share me about the step show that you was trying to do.
Yeah, so, you know, in Minnesota for a very, very long time, there was this step show called Midwest Greek Step Show. And that was something that was long standing. It went for about 14 years strong. And because of resources, and it kind of died off about 10 years ago. And we have been trying to figure out, how do we bring this back? Because I talk about the visibility piece. You know, the step show for me was like the shining light that got me interested in joining the organization. I saw brothers on the stage stepping and having fun and all the crowd clapping. I said, "Ooh, I want to be that. I want to be a part of that." So imagine what the students are missing out on right now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're working really, really hard to bring that back and bring it back on campus and make it a consistent thing that's supported through campus. And I'm excited to hopefully be able to announce some information about that soon. But it's definitely something that has been in the works for behind the scenes for a couple of years, just trying to figure out how to logistically bring this back and make it prominent, make it a priority.
Can I share something with you?
Okay.
Okay, there's somebody here that helped created the step show, and that is Ray Seville.
Ah.
Okay, right.
So you thought it was gonna be me.
I did.
But the essence is that what we wanted to do was to bring back the community
Yeah.
to the university.
Yeah.
Because the essence of what we are trying to do is bring everybody together.
Yeah.
Bad news, you can sell it. Good news, you got to tell it. And the only way that you can tell your good news is to reach out and bring people together. Each one teach one. Okay? My question to you young ladies is because right now, if you look at it, 65% and up, people who graduate from the university do what? Stay right here.
Yeah.
Okay. My question to you, what kind of women's groups that you are cultivating, bringing folks up and making sure that these young ladies understand they got some power here if they work together? Can you give me that information there?
I think one of the groups that I'd love to highlight is Black Motivated Women, which is a group that started before a couple of years before me, but is still going very strong. And they have a strong social media presence, and it's been honestly really wonderful to see how that group has evolved from, just a handful of women, in the 2010s and early 2000s to what it is now today in 2024. And it's a really great plug-in point, I think, for many women at the University of Minnesota to come together to talk, like as you said, about shared power and individuality and their uniqueness and how they're then going back out into the world and being able to take those sentiments, those lessons, that sisterhood from Black Motivated Women, BMW for short, and be able to carry that on in the different spaces that those students then enter, whether it be grad school, the job market, their home life, their family life. It's been honestly, it's been really wonderful to look back and see what they're doing, follow them on social media. And it's really heartwarming to see that something that was started, many years ago is still going strong and the different ways that it has evolved. And that's a really strong point for students who are entering the University of Minnesota for Black women, that BMW is such a great resource, was a great resource back then and still is today. And it's, the those of us that were part of it, we did have a conversation at homecoming about, like we've done with, the Black Alumni Network is also bringing back, an alumni version of BMW and being able to still have that strong community and touch point the way that we did when we were in undergrad. So
I think there's always opportunities to kind of tap in. I know as I've kind of grown in my career, there's always been opportunities to kind of maybe lean in or give back. One of the groups that I'm involved with now is Impact 100, which is an organization that just started this year, which is really founded by a lovely a gal. I think her mom started one in a different, I think in Texas or Dallas. I can't remember the specifics, but what that is that us maybe that are a little bit farther in their careers can kind of give back, and so you give back a certain amount of funds as a member of this group, and then that group, we look at the money that we collected and then give back to the communities by giving scholarships or for nonprofits and things like that. So it's just a really good way. I would always tell people as they look to grow their career and you're building out your network, don't always forget to give back. And it can be in a variety of different ways. Now, maybe mine's a little bit easier now that I have more funds to be able to do that. And then have an opportunity to look at those nonprofits and say, yeah, I want to give back to this one. Or, my son's trainer, who's an African-American male, also played football. He has a whole program for kids for their flag football, for their traveling team. Maybe we can give funds back to them so that other people just have an opportunity, along with, giving funds to folks that maybe just need some of that, just to kind of get their business up and going, or supply more of an opportunity for a lot of charities and children's work that happens in the cities.
The thing that I want to deal with, I'm going to look at you, young lady, right there. I'm giving you that eye.
I got the eye. I can see it from here.
Yeah, you got that.
Like,
Okay, I'm going to give you 3 names, and I would like you to talk about them.
okay.
You ready?
I'm nervous.
Shit, it sounds like Jeopardy.
Do I get to Google?
Yeah.
Do I get to look them up?
No, you straight. Shit. Okay.
I'm not using it straight.
I know. I was like,
Katie McWatts.
no,
Okay. Robin Hickman.
I know the name.
Okay. Bill Hickman.
I know the name.
Kwame McDonald.
I know the name.
Okay. All these young, gifted people is from St. Paul.
Mm.
they have gave their life to St. Paul. And I realized that the essence is that people need to know their names.
Mm.
Give you an example. Josie Johnson, okay? Dr. David Taylor, the first dean that ever stepped foot at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Frank Wilderson, Kelly Boston. Do you know their names?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is that if y'all gonna do something in a positive way, put them on a building.
Mm.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you shared that because, as you know, the university did announce in 2022 that they are, opening up opportunities for nominations of renaming buildings on campus.
Mhm.
That process is paused currently, but it will be restarting soon. And I wanted to just kind of let the word out now about this because we've been working with our Inclusion, Diversity, and Belonging Committee with our board of directors to figure out how to build an awareness level opportunity for people to know the opportunity that they have as alumni, as students, faculty, staff to participate in this process. The names that you just mentioned are names that we want to collect. We want to be able, as the Alumni Association, to have a full list of impactful people who have blessed the halls of the University of Minnesota to be able to fight for that and advocate for that in this process when those opportunities present themselves. And by really, for us, is really kind of eliminating the stress of what the full steps of that process may look like from a logistical standpoint. So basically just give us the names. We will do all the due diligence and evaluation and doing the research that is needed to do a formal nomination when that process comes up. But we want the names. So I know you got a lot of names in your repertoire, and there's probably other people who have some as well. So we'll be having a website out pretty soon to collect a lot of this information. But to your point, like putting a highlight and a spotlight on these people is quintessential, and we want to be able to know about these notable alumni so that we can find ways to do that.
So it's really imperative to look at it. I'll never forget. I was there when Dr. Wright made that speech at the hall when they was dealing with that committee, the board. And he was almost in tears because he realized that his generation, his mom, his dad was from and graduated from where and worked at what? The University of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody don't even hardly know that. The most important thing that we have to do, to me, is to bring them out. We don't even know who right now, the first graduate from University of Minnesota was 1868?
Yeah, Andrew Hilliard.
There it.
Yeah.
Okay, and my question is that how many people know that? How many people know Bobby Wright? Bobby Bell, excuse me. I mean, they know Toni Dungy. They know Daryl Thompson. They don't even know you.
It's not just me.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No,
My thing is that it's so important for us as alumni to get people to understand that we're here and we're here to serve.
Exactly.
And so how you do this is doing exactly what y'all doing right now. You got to share the wealth. But there's another question I'm going to ask you, and that is, where's the money? Just like that Wendy's commercial. Where's the what?
Beef.
Okay.
That
And
is
so,
my age.
yeah,
That's so
it show you that,
And
man. It
that's
show
true.
like,
Yep.
my question to us is that this is the issue.
Yes.
The issue is where the money.
Mm.
The money got to be in a position of being shared. I'll never forget when I was in administration at the university. Sure, it was the first time we raised $1 billion with the Alumni Association. So I know they already made money. But the question is when they're going to give it to African Americans. Those are the questions that I need to ask you. What y'all going to do? Because they're always going to tell you that they don't have what? The resources. And you already know they got it. So what you going to do? That's the question I'm asking.
Mm.
And don't quit looking at. Come on.
I've just given Dr. Steve an opportunity to share his insight from the inside, and then we just continue to trickle that knowledge on down.
I mean, you put all these young queens over here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, well, hey, I want you to share the wealth.
Yeah, I think that is something that we talk about often is, you know, how do we engage to get more funds our way? And maybe not just us, but other areas of color also within the university. Um, and and Steve has been an amazing partner. I can say that for the record. Dr. Steve is there for us at all times, making sure that we have a voice. Sarah, who's our president of our group, she is also on the alumni board. Um, so she's able to speak as well. So we're starting to have more of a presence, right? So it's kind of, we're starting within and kind of growing our numbers so that we have more of a voice, right? And the larger our voice gets, the more we are heard. But we do have to start somewhere, and Steve was honored to help us get there, and we've added members to other groups, and I'm on the social committee for the U for the alumni, and so we're just trying to make sure that we get our voices out there so that when the questions are asked, we have a seat at the table, and so that we're able to raise our hand and says we would like some too. And this is what we need and why we need it, right? You always have to give the reasoning. I always say, to my team, you got to give them the with them. So what's in it for me? So we have to show that bringing the alumni back and encouraging, our voices to be heard has a benefit to the university, to the students, and to the larger community. And to be able to do that, we have to be at the table. And so this is one of the ways that we can be at the table.
I want to talk to you.
Okay.
I want to hit you. I want to hit you hard. Okay. Now, this is what I'm going to ask you. Tell me a story.
A story about the University of Minnesota.
Tell me how you can empower folks and make it, because this is your business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a story.
I think it's a story of shared vision, shared timelines, shared beauty that's global. When I think about Black people both in Minnesota, the Twin Cities, think about across the U.S., I think about the, Caribbean, Africa, all of us coming together at the University of Minnesota. I think about, the different groups that we may be a part of, whether it's Black Student Union, BMW, Divine Nine, but we're still all reveling in the beauty and the innovation and the sanctity of our Blackness. And so honoring that both in our undergraduate years and ensuring that stays, that energy that we have stays as we grow, from right out of college to many years down the road. Our story continues. It continues from this point that this story is being told. It started before, it starts here, it starts after. Our story is a timeless story, a beautiful story. And it's a shared story where we all bring our pieces together and sort of beautifully truck forward. And that's the story of us.
See, I'm not that generation, so I don't. I got a clap or something.
Bravo.
We can clap. We can
resonate with the new generation.
See, I'm not used to that.
Silent.
See,
Okay,
yeah,
no.
my thing is that look. I mean, I understand what you said. Okay. Okay.
This is also a case to bring back voices merging, which I loved in undergrad. So you've got, and I think to your point about we've talked about all these different groups. You've got, the Alumni Network, you've got Black Alumni Network, you've got Divine Nine, you've got Black Motivated Women, you've got Black Student Union, you have Voices Merging. These are all it's those individual stories, those individual spaces, but together, it's such a enriching timeline. You have a vibrant campus where you have these different events going on. You have the STEP show, you have volunteering events where you see Divine Nine, you see, Black Motivated Women, you see the Black Alumni Network, and we're all together, just thriving. There's something I think that's just so beautiful when everyone is energetic and leaning in and leaning on and leaning together. And so I love that we talked about those different spaces and why they're important, and then how that all works together, because we all do work together. We all are doing our different things, but it doesn't happen unless it happens together. And I think that's sort of the thing.
It's got to be a pot that milks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I think in the last maybe 10, 15 years, the pieces were everywhere, right? They weren't together. I think now that, especially the last few years, we're really trying to bring all the pieces together so that we are in a pot together and stirring and moving forward and focusing, right? Every student at the U has their own stories, every way they got there, everybody that was involved, in their community or not. I wasn't necessarily involved in my Black community while I was at the U, but now coming out, I see the benefit of it. I see why. My brother is an Alpha Phi Alpha, right? So I saw the step shows and I was like, why wasn't this there when I was there? It was, I just didn't see it because it wasn't as prevalent. And I look back to Steve's point is kids don't see that today. They're not seeing that on campus. And that's the place where I've seen the success of it through, this generation, through my brother's generation, of how can we bring that back to campus? How can we allow people to feel comfortable in their skin again? Right? To be able to be proud to wear their letters, not to look like they're on the outside, but part of this larger university community, and have the larger community around us, Minneapolis, St. Paul, also embrace us, right? And not feel like we're the step kids that are out here, right? And I think a lot of times, at least from my experience, that's how I felt about the U prior to coming back, meeting with Steve and getting back involved, right? There are plenty of people like me who maybe weren't involved in their community for whatever their reasons were. But now that a lot of us are looking back and we're talking about how can we get involved? I am at a place now that I am successful, or somebody thinks I am, right?
You are successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are.
So how do I bring that to other people? How do I encourage other women of color to stand in my place? I'm in an IT field. That's not common. How do I get more women in IT to stand in this place and feel comfortable? We've got a great, a computer science and IT program and engineering program at the U. I don't know if those Black student women are together. We've got to figure out how to get that pot stirring and to have our voices louder and be more at the table. And I think this allows us to do that. And I think the groups that we have put together over the last 5 or 6 years have really allowed us to stand up a little taller.
Yeah, and I just want to add something and just kind of be real here. I mean,
Yes.
since 2020, the world has been focused, I will say, on trying to grow in this space because the world's eyes were open, right? But we're in a very polarized time now, too, where there's a microscope on this type of work and engagement. However, I do have a feeling and a sense at the University of Minnesota that it is a priority to figure out how we engage and invest in our BIPOC communities and supporting them, giving them access. And from the Alumni Association standpoint, we are a self-funded organization. We have to raise our own funds through membership and our events in order to sustain our business. But we are also advocates for investing more into the work that we're doing because the capacity building, you heard the stories of these two ladies as their journey from university to them now giving back. And a lot of that was funneled through the work of the Alumni Association to help build that bridge. So we've been doing the work, but getting the resources is something that we're continuing to advocate for so that we can advance the work. And I think there's other offices and units on campus that are in that same mindset. And like I told you before about those partnerships, like I'm knocking on those doors to say, hey, don't do that by yourself. Leverage what we've already built and let's continue to advance that. So that's the approach that we're taking.
Thank you. I think the hardest thing people don't want to do is to think outside of the box. Okay? And I'm going to throw out some stuff, man, and I hope you understand what I'm getting ready to say because I'm going to think outside of the box. Here you go. Why you don't connect with the University of Minnesota Athletic Department? And how do you engage them? Because one, they're the highest minority there. You got the highest African American population because of sports at the University of Minnesota. If you look at it, shoot, tell me the population of African Americans, not African, not Somalis. I'm talking about African American that's at the campus of the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I guarantee you, it's less than 400.
Mhm.
Now, my question is that how can you motivate them to understand that you are small, but you're a giant too?
Mhm.
And so, how you connect with the University of Minnesota athletic department and say, "Look, we got this." But the question is that will they come and be a partnership with you?
I mean, I think the door is open for anybody to be a partnership with us, and we work with the athletic department on a number of different things. And as we build community, there are members of the alumni community that are former athletes, like myself and others, that are involved. And we ask them and encourage them to share, like get more people to come and be a part of this. I believe there are a couple former athletes that were part of the board of the last few years as well. And I know people like Linda Roberts, who did a lot at the university and tried to bring a lot of the Black former athletes together, is still helping to push for that those opportunities to continue to happen. And in my mind, I'm just trying to connect the dots where the dots are open to be connected. So I don't think there's a shut door on that. I think there are still more opportunities. But then again, as you think, as my time as being a former athlete, like you are so focused on your own time and regimen of trying to do so much of what the coaches are telling you to do that sometimes it's hard to think outside the box and do things outside the box. I decided to take a chance and join the fraternity. Not a lot of players are doing that because they're like, oh, man, I don't got time for that. But I think once again, visibility of what the community looks like, what it looks like to kind of prepare yourself outside of just like within the confines of that sport. Um, I think it matters, and giving them more opportunities to see prominent Black alumni will get them to like, oh, I want to be in some of these spaces. How do I get it? How do I get access to this? And how do we build a bridge? And I think there's plenty of opportunities to do that. And like I said, the Alumni Association is always open to continue to build those bridges. So
What about the women's part as for athletics?
what about
Well, the thing is that they don't have no eyesight of thinking about pro. So their eyesight is once they graduate, they got to find a job
Mhm.
or get their master's degree. How do you get those University of Minnesota athletes, student athletes, to look at the alumni?
And I think it's I jokingly asked Steve about his book earlier, right, when we first got here, but I think that's the story. And that's our connection, right? Especially for women. And I've been on a couple different panels with women and a lot from the university, especially women of color. And some of them were athletes, and they said the hardest part is coming out is deciding what to do, right? And that's what kind of what Steve's books is about too, is what are you doing afterwards? And that's I think where we had the opportunity when you say thinking outside the box. How do we connect? How do we take someone, a woman who is an athlete or a male who is an athlete, and say, we're going to have an event for athletes who are coming out of school? You may not go pro, right? Most of you won't. How do we connect you with the right people to start enhancing your network, right? Because it's really about network. As you see, like what the NFL did for over the Super Bowl, they brought a lot of players back and had a whole network networking event at the job fair. And so those athletes came back and they had an opportunity to talk to people at a variety of different companies. And so we can do that too, right? We just have to somehow get our Black alumni who were to come back and serve, really is what we're asking people to do, is take their time and serve and stand up and say, maybe somebody didn't help me get here, but I want to help you get there, and I want to help you get there faster and more efficiently. And let's start building those networks across. And student athletes is a good way to go about it. And if you look at certain schools that are really big, maybe it's a law school, right? We have judges coming up soon, right? So there's lots of different opportunities to say, hey, let's look at this, and where can we tap into those populations of students that are coming out and start building their network? Because if you don't have a network, it really doesn't matter how great you are as an employee if you can't network yourself around.
yeah, that community matters.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the athletes don't know how to access that.
Right.
And I think to what she's talking about, it's like, I guess it's on us to
Mm-hmm.
maybe find the ways of creating that safe space so that the students, the athletes, any of the Black population on campus could see and have an opportunity to fully experience the breadth and depth of this alumni body.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think the scariest time of a student is their junior and senior year
Mhm.
because they don't know exactly what's going
Yeah.
on.
You know how to
Be
get
real.
That's right. And that's the real street. They have to figure out exactly a way where they can really touch the alumni association.
Right.
And so from that is the network that's trying to create that image. Give me 10 goals or maybe 3 goals that y'all looking at that can create that.
One of
Also, Tony's stuff.
Yeah, one of them, is how do we go about partnering with other areas outside of just the alumni network to help build our network? How do we bring and foster that bridge that we were talking about earlier to bring those students, those alumni back? Be it at events or other things that they feel now that they're part of this community. Maybe they didn't feel part of their community when they were students, or maybe they just saw themselves as student athletes, or I'm just an engineering student. I didn't see anything else. But now as an alumni, how can we bridge some of those gaps, bring them back in? That's one of the main thing, and we're really focused on, it's not just a certain age group, right? We really need everybody to come in and join this community. And one of the things is we're a group of 7, mighty 7, right, for us that keep going, but we're having more people kind of reach out and say, hey, I would love to be part of this, right? And that grows and that continues. And so really, as we build out our community, we need to make sure that we're engaging other people. And when they come and say, I want to help, we got to let them help right away, right? I think a lot of times we're like, oh, yeah, we'll get to you. You can do the homecoming event with us. We've got so much stuff. So we're really just trying to bridge that connection and bring people in. And when they say they want to be in, let's invite them in, let's get them involved. But I think for us, the biggest thing is that one of my main goals of this is really, how do I tap into those older adult alumni that want to give back but can't find their way back to us? How do I engage them? I see them all the time. I talk to them all the time. Where's the switch that they're going to come back and say, yes, I want to do this event with you, or yes, I want to give back? And maybe it is that we find those pockets that are important to them and start just having events so that they can feel part of it. And then once it starts, it just builds and builds and builds. So that's what we've been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I say just that back to that intentional piece around building community both with alumni, but then people who are coming up, those juniors and seniors that you said, they'll be the new alumni. And so thinking about the Black Motivated Women, the Black Student Union, NSBE, Divine Nine, all these places that and spaces that students currently are, and letting them know that there's a place for them after that where they can all come together. They can certainly have these individual and unique spaces, but we can all pour into this one place together. And it's really, wanting to be that, as Tony said, that network of people who come from a variety of backgrounds. You've got folks, we can have folks from the 60s and the 70s, 90s, 2010s, 99 and 2000s, and, make sure, but make sure everyone, is represented, and you can tap into those different, stories from those times. I think one of the things that, you are raising all these wonderful people and their stories and their names, is that there's so much history and story. And if we are not connected with one another, if our timelines are here, 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 and here, and not here with just a whole bunch of beautiful branches and leaves, that we're not really doing what we need to do to ensure that we've got the strong numbers at the University of Minnesota, that students feel seen and heard while they're at the U, and there is a strong presence of both undergraduates doing their wonderful thing and learning and growing, and alumni who are saying, hey, if you need help, here's mentorship, or they're on campus or hosting events for students to come and learn, because that junior senior year is scary. I'd even say the whole 4 years can be a little scary because it goes by so quickly, and you're having a lot of fun, but that there's an end date. But you shouldn't really fear the next stage, because there should be a community waiting to welcome you throughout your current stage and the upcoming one. I think people fall through the cracks when we don't have that informal and formal and beautiful built community where they can feel comfortable going and growing.
Yeah.
And so I hope that with all of our different work and all of our different networks, that we're able to really pull people together in a really, I think, unique and organic and beautiful way to be what we need to be, to ensure that people have what they need to thrive and grow and be able to be who I think we've always been, which is Blackness is so vibrant. It's so beautiful across, I mean, the different groups that we are, the student groups, the cultures, the languages, the food, like the dance, like it's so amazing. It's so thriving. And I just want to see it just be there on the stage, in the community, in people's hearts. And I'm so excited about this work. And I'm excited about what comes next.
Okay. Now you did. Okay. Okay.
Dr.
Okay.
Steve.
I have nothing else to add to what they said. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that was just mentioned.
See, that was just two. I'm asking for three.
Yeah, you
Goals.
have your own goal.
What's your
That's
goal?
great.
Oh, goal.
Goal.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the question.
My goal is
Your goal is his goal.
That's all I'm
My
going to tell you my goal is I can do it. Okay.
Well, I mean, what was already kind of stated was very, very important aspects of where we need to go. I'm really focused on making sure that people continue to be aware of the opportunity that this network has, and really advocating internally to get the resources we need to advance the work. That is the focus that we have as an organization. It's part of our strategic goals to continue to grow our engagement in this space and find ways to invest more in this space. So I really see the work being twofold. Putting it out there so people know where to come. You build the field of dreams, you hope they come, and then you go internally and you get everybody to come along with you so they see the vision and is ready to invest in that vision so that we can continue to advance that work.
All right. Fantastic. You ready for mine?
Yeah.
My
Yes.
goal?
Yes.
If I was with y'all,
Yes.
check this out.
Here we go.
You ready?
I'm
Ready.
Okay, here we go. Where's the African American Student Union is at? It's in Kaufman, right?
Mhm.
Why you don't have a part of the alumni center right there for African Americans? So they can
Student Center and the Alumni Center?
yeah, just a little piece. Not even just a little space. Went inside.
I don't know if that does it justice, though. Like a little space?
Well, the problem that I have is not just a space, but just a part
Mhm.
of the student alumni. African American students.
Yeah.
BSA.
Yeah.
And just have a area of alumni. So they can just come on in and say who I am and all of that stuff. And then from that, once they have a meeting, they can see exactly
Yeah.
the person that you have as for alumni to come in and share their little bits and get them to a point where they can partnership
Yeah.
and give them different resources.
We're moving in, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, come on. Well, let
That
me.
makes sense?
Yeah, I like what you're saying.
Mm.
If you don't mind, I want to one up that too, because I
Okay.
think what you're talking about really is space.
That's right.
Like, how do we have our own space
Yeah.
That's it.
and our own visibility to be able to activate to do what we want? That's not present outside of a room in a big building.
That's right.
I think there's definitely opportunities to get there. There's spaces for a lot of people. And we used to have a Kappa house, your guys. But there's not a lot of specific space that is dedicated to, I would say, a underserved demographic.
Go. Because I tell you, when you do that, what's going to happen?
It creates a sense of belonging for people to feel like they can go somewhere.
And just like everything else, other people of color and other creed will go and build their own. You already know when black folks do something, what happened?
Everyone else follow suit.
Thank you. So now you know the rest of the story, don't you?
Build the culture. Got you.
There you go. You
Yeah.
build the culture.
Yeah.
And that's how you pull that off. But the other thing too is that hey, you create the environment, and just like the Field of Dreams, you build it, they will what?
They'll come.
They'll come.
But take the action, because so many times people are looking for the money instead of looking at the service. And you understand how money creates. It is created by what? Your service. Okay?
Yep.
So me trying to let you, give you an example. And I know I'm not trying to, I don't want to talk about what I did at the U, but I'm going to tell you this one. There was a situation that came. We was trying to create a contract to do what y'all call pop, soda, all of that stuff. And so with that, dude named Ron Campbell, dude named John, I forgot my man's last name, and myself. So we we did a survey. We had RC Cola, we had Pepsi Cola, and we had Coca Cola. And so next thing you know, we did a survey, and the number one brand, you know what it was?
Coke?
RC. RC won it. But next thing you know, when the big contract, because what I did was I looked at the Park and Rec, it was giving us checks for having the stuff there. So next thing you know, we worked their butt off with under McKinley Boston and all of that stuff. And next thing you know, we had a contract of $10.5 million. The highest ever to the University of Minnesota. And they still using that platform of what we do. From the vision became reality. Okay. And so what I'm just trying to say to you is if we can raise that, because then you saw the Coca-Cola initiative that came from the University of Minnesota with all the alumni, and especially came to the university and other former students that we gave $2,000 or $2,500 for those groups. You heard about that, and that's what we did. Now, my question is to you: when you do things like that, just remember what's going to happen to you, young man. They're going to find a way to destroy you, son.
I'm resilient.
Come on now. Because I tell you, hey, all of those people who did this, Johnny Walker, Ron Campbell, McKinley Boston, are we at the university? No. Have anybody heard our names? No. But did we do the work? Yes. Did our sacrifice paid off? Yes. Because y'all here. And so now what we are trying to say is you don't know our name, but still you got the baton and you need to run from it. If so, you can give it to another person, another youth. And that's what we're trying to do. This podcast is trying to enlighten everybody to understand that nothing is free. You got to sacrifice for something. Okay?
No doubt.
Now, that's my little 2 cents. And so for me, I want to be in a position where I like to, hey, is there anything that y'all need to talk about that we haven't talked about right now?
Well, I'll just share this. First of all, thanks for having us on. And this has been a great opportunity to just kind of talk about a number of different things, but really just the Black empowerment, the Black pride, and building on that, right? I also want to mention, at the Alumni Association, this is a fun year for us, a special year. We're celebrating 120 years as an organization founded back in 1904. And we're trying to celebrate, the service, the things and the contributions that our alumni have done over the years, throughout the entire year, and hopefully have some cool things that we'll add in there for our Black alumni as well. So I'm excited, to be a part of an organization that has that rich history, that is really for alumni. It's by alumni for alumni. And as you learned here from, these are volunteers that are helping out, with our organization, because there's only 24 staff members in our organization. So we need the support of others to, advance this work. But there's a lot of powerful people, a lot of impactful people who are helping to support this work, and also alumni who are doing amazing things in the world. And we want to continue to share and shine a light on them, and just shine a light on the contribution, so that you feel, part of the university, whether, your experience was not good or it was great, but still feel part of family regardless of that. So, celebrate 120 years with us this year, and, we'll have some cool stuff coming up soon.
Okay.
to echo Steve on the volunteers. We've got the Black Alumni Network has 7 great board members. Toni and myself are 2 of them. Toni is our VP, helping lead the charge, lead the way. She does a fantastic job. I'm the VP of marketing. We've also got Sarah, who is our president, Nee, who is our VP of finance, making sure he organizes and strategizes our way into the funding needed to be able to have and host these events. Amina and Jael, who are VP of Social Affairs, putting on fantastic events throughout the year, and really working to ensure that we have those partnerships that we need to build a community that we want to represent. And Vincent, who is our VP of Communications, helping to get the word out, spread the word, and make sure people, know what's happening, know what's going on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I'd like to thank y'all so much for giving us the time and the opportunity to speak with y'all. I hope that you truly enlightened me. I hope that this conversation will be in a position where it can help all of us to be better. I realize that there's sometimes, we think that nobody's not listening, but I guarantee you somebody's listening. Y'all have to be in a position of taking that mask off and just be real. Because people are looking for that now.
Yes, they are.
And so for me, thank y'all for giving me the opportunity. And I'd like to say thank you, Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder, to give us the time. Thank you, the University of Minnesota alumni, Black alumni, for giving us the time. And I'd just like to say thank you, Ray Seville, for hooking us up, and Tracy, for giving us the time to make this thing become reality. And I hope y'all come back and be a positive sponsor for us. And so that's what we're looking for. And I just want to say, hey, y'all have a blessed day, and I will talk to y'all soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.